D'Angelo Russell talks about his time with the Lakers. Stay until the end to find out everything, but first leave your like and subscribe to the channel. At 29 years old, D'Angelo Russell has already experienced 2 separate periods with the Los Angeles Lakers. Despite the prestige of playing for one of the NBA's most historic franchises, both of his spells in LA were marked more by inconsistency than success. In a recent interview with former Miami Heat legend Dwayne Wade, Russell opened up about his early years in the league, with a particular focus on his first time with the Lakers. He also highlighted what he believes was the major turning point in his career: his transition to the Brooklyn Nets. Russell didn't hold back when comparing the environments of the two organizations. In his words, the Brooklyn setup was unlike anything he had encountered before. He spoke about how every aspect of the franchise, from the performance staff to the coaching team, operated on a different level. For a player who had just come from the Lakers, where he felt the infrastructure lacked direction and modern standards, the change was both dramatic and eye-opening. Drafted as the 2nd overall pick in the 2015 NBA draft, Russell arrived in Los Angeles with high expectations. He was selected ahead of several players who would go on to become all-stars, including Devin Booker and Kristaps Porzingis. However, his early seasons in California didn't go as planned. The pressure of playing for the Lakers, combined with his youth and a disjointed team culture, contributed to underwhelming performances. Just 2 seasons into his NBA career, Russell was traded to the Brooklyn Nets in a move that signaled the end of a disappointing start. In return for Russell, the Lakers received a trade package centered around Brook Lopez and a rookie named Kyle Kuzma. While Lopez struggled to make a major impact during his time in Los Angeles, Kuzma eventually became a key figure in the team's championship run in 2020. Meanwhile, Russell's departure would prove to be a pivotal moment in his development. It was in Brooklyn where Russell finally began to unlock his full potential. In his 2nd season with the Nets, coached by Kenny Atkinson, he showcased the talent that many believed he had when he was drafted. He played in 81 games and averaged 21.1 points and 7 assists per game, earning his first and only All-Star selection. That season marked the beginning of a new chapter, not just in terms of numbers but in the way Russell approached his career. He often speaks about how the Brooklyn organization taught him how to be a professional in every sense. It wasn't just about what happened on the court. He learned how to take care of his body, how to manage his rest and nutrition, and how to prepare mentally for the grind of an NBA season. He admits that he isn't naturally the most athletic player, so these lessons were vital to extending his career and improving his consistency. Eventually, after stints with the Golden State Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves, Russell returned to the Lakers in 2023. His second go-around in Los Angeles was met with cautious optimism, especially after solid performances in the regular season. However, once again his postseason play failed to meet expectations. His scoring numbers dipped noticeably, and his shooting from beyond the arc dropped significantly. In the 2 playoff runs he had with the Lakers, his 3-point shooting percentage fell from over 41% in the regular season to under 32% in the playoffs, a drop that highlighted his struggles under pressure. By December 2024, Russell found himself in familiar territory as he was once again traded, this time back to Brooklyn. The Lakers sent him in exchange for Dorian Finney-Smith, a player known more for defense and hustle than scoring. At the time of the trade, Russell was averaging 12.4 points and 4.7 assists per game while shooting 33.3% from three-point range. These were the lowest scoring numbers of his career, adding more weight to the narrative that his return to LA had fallen short of expectations. Looking ahead, Russell signed a new deal to join the Dallas Mavericks for the upcoming season. His role will likely be that of a complementary piece, helping to manage minutes for Kyrie Irving, who is recovering from a knee injury. While no longer expected to be a franchise cornerstone, Russell still brings valuable experience, scoring ability, and veteran leadership, especially in a second-unit role. In summary, D'Angelo Russell's career has been anything but linear. From the pressure-filled spotlight in Los Angeles to the structure and discipline he found in Brooklyn, his journey reflects the highs and lows of life as a professional athlete. While the expectations surrounding him may have changed, his story continues. this time in Dallas with another chance to contribute and evolve. A major theme in D'Angelo Russell's story is how the internal culture of a franchise can significantly shape a player's growth. In this chapter, we dive deeper into the organizational contrast between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Brooklyn Nets, two teams with very different approaches to development, structure, and accountability. For Russell, these differences became the defining factor between early struggle and eventual evolution. Russell entered the NBA at just 19 years old, full of potential but still raw in his understanding of what it meant to be a professional athlete. The Lakers, while iconic and historically successful, were in a rebuilding phase when he joined. Kobe Bryant was nearing retirement, and the team was transitioning into a new era. The pressure on young players to carry the torch for the next generation was intense, but the support system wasn't quite in place to match it. Russell has openly shared how the Lakers, at that point, lacked the kind of modern infrastructure that other franchises were starting to develop. From performance training to diet planning, sleep routines, and mental preparation, the organization didn't emphasize the same holistic development that he would later find in Brooklyn. Young players were often left to figure things out on their own, both on and off the court. For someone like Russell, still adjusting to NBA life and fame in Los Angeles, this lack of structure became a challenge. It wasn't that the Lakers didn't want to help their players grow, it was more that the systems weren't yet evolved to do so effectively. The franchise was in transition, juggling the pressure of maintaining its winning legacy while trying to rebuild with a young core. As a result, the locker room environment was inconsistent, and leadership was limited. Russell's infamous incident involving a leaked video with a teammate only fueled media scrutiny and further highlighted the immaturity in the locker room. In hindsight, it was a team filled with young talent but lacking the mentorship and discipline to mold that talent properly. In contrast, Russell's time in Brooklyn was described as transformational, not because of fame or winning championships, but because of how the organization operated on a day-to-day basis. From the moment he arrived, he noticed a clear difference in attention to detail. The Nets, at that time led by coach Kenny Atkinson and a progressive front office, prioritized player development at every level. They focused on individual growth, both physically and mentally. Russell often credits Brooklyn for teaching him the fundamentals of being a professional athlete. It wasn't just about running plays or hitting shots. It was about recovery, preparation, and self-care. The Nets had a team of specialists who tracked sleep cycles, helped players understand nutrition, and developed customized training plans. This level of care wasn't just for star players, it was part of the organization's identity. Every member of the roster was treated as a long-term investment, and that gave players like Russell the tools they needed to thrive. Off the court, the culture in Brooklyn also encouraged responsibility and maturity. There was a clear structure to everything. Communication between players and coaches was strong, the roles were defined, and the staff emphasized accountability in every aspect of the job. Russell, still young but now given a new chance, embraced that environment. He started to take his craft more seriously, not just for the moment but for his long-term career. The shift in mindset led directly to his All-Star season and helped him gain the respect he had previously struggled to earn. Interestingly, the contrast between the two franchises extends beyond facilities or leadership. It reflects a deeper philosophical difference. The Lakers, driven by a history of success, often operate with a focus on winning immediately. Patience isn't always part of the plan. In contrast, the Nets, especially during Russell's time, were more willing to invest in development and build slowly, trusting the process over time. Russell's case is a prime example of how a player's potential can be unlocked or hindered depending on the environment they're placed in. In Los Angeles, he was seen as a disappointment because he didn't become a star overnight. In Brooklyn, he was celebrated for his growth and maturity, because the franchise gave him space and structure to evolve. Now, with nearly a decade in the NBA under his belt, Russell often looks back at that Brooklyn period as the true beginning of his professional identity. It's not that the talent suddenly appeared, it had always been there. What changed was the setting. He had finally found an organization that understood how to develop more than just a basketball player. They developed a person. As Russell prepares for another chapter in Dallas, his story serves as a lesson across the league. talent alone is never enough. Without the right culture, the right leadership, and the right environment, even the most gifted athletes can struggle to reach their ceiling. Conversely, with support, accountability, and attention to detail, careers can be reshaped, sometimes permanently. Success in the NBA isn't just about talent or hard work. It's about enduring the weight of expectations, navigating criticism, and finding your identity amidst the chaos of professional sports. For D'Angelo Russell, that pressure came early and never really left. In this chapter, we explore the emotional and psychological side of his journey, how public opinion, media narratives, and internal locker room dynamics shape the mindset of a player trying to grow while constantly being watched. From the moment he was selected as the second overall pick in the 2015 NBA draft, Russell became a symbol of hope for a struggling Lakers franchise. Expectations were sky-high. He wasn't just supposed to be good, he was expected to be great. Fans, media, and the front office wanted him to become the new face of the Lakers, especially in the shadow of Kobe Bryant's retirement. But few seemed to consider the fact that he was still a teenager, adjusting to life in a new city and the pressure of being a lottery pick in one of the most intense sports markets in the world. This pressure became even more complex when his performance didn't immediately match the hype. As is common with young players, there were flashes of brilliance, creative passes, big shots, confidence in crunch time. But there were also growing pains. Turnovers, poor decision-making, defensive lapses, and emotional outbursts. In Los Angeles, mistakes aren't just part of the game, they're headlines. Every misstep was amplified, every quote dissected, every quiet game spun into a narrative about failure. Then came the off-court controversy that many believe cemented Russell's early reputation. The incident involving a secretly recorded video of a teammate discussing personal matters. Regardless of his intent, the fallout was severe. The locker room turned cold, his relationships with teammates suffered, and his public image took a massive hit. Suddenly, he wasn't just a young point guard with inconsistent play, he was immature, not a leader, and a bad teammate. Whether fair or not, these labels stuck, and the noise around his name grew louder than anything he did on the court. Russell later reflected on that period as a time when he simply didn't know how to handle the spotlight. He admitted that he wasn't prepared for the media storm that followed every action, that he lacked the tools, mentally and emotionally, to manage fame, criticism, and expectations all at once. In many ways, he wasn't just learning how to be an NBA player, he was learning how to survive in a world that demanded perfection from him, without giving him the grace to grow. It wasn't until he landed in Brooklyn that things began to change. Away from the constant spotlight of Los Angeles and no longer burdened by the expectations of being a top 2 pick, Russell found something he hadn't felt in years: breathing room. The pressure didn't disappear, but it became manageable. He was allowed to make mistakes without being defined by them. He could play freely, speak honestly, and rebuild his reputation, step by step. That freedom led to confidence, and that confidence led to production. But more than that, it helped him develop resilience. Russell began to understand that criticism was part of the business, that public perception could swing wildly based on a single shot, and that the only person who could define his worth was himself. He stopped chasing approval and started chasing progress. This emotional growth became evident in interviews, in his leadership on the floor, and in the way he carried himself. He began mentoring younger players, became more measured in his responses to the media, and took accountability when things went wrong. He wasn't just playing better, he was living better. Brooklyn had given him the space not only to grow up, but to toughen up. Yet, as his return to Los Angeles showed, growth doesn't erase the past. The expectations followed him. The critics were still watching. And when his performance dipped again in the playoffs, many were quick to repeat old narratives. For Russell, it was a reminder that resilience is not a one-time achievement. It's an ongoing battle. Every city, every game, every season brings new pressure, and he must constantly recenter himself to handle it. Now, as he heads to Dallas, he carries not just the weight of another contract and another team, but the full experience of someone who's endured the emotional roller coaster of an NBA career. He's been praised, doubted, celebrated, and blamed. He's been the rising star, the trade piece, the scapegoat, the leader. And through it all, he's learned how to stay grounded. This chapter of his story isn't about redemption or proving anyone wrong. It's about understanding who he is, accepting the journey, and continuing to push forward. For D'Angelo Russell, the emotional cost of the NBA has been steep, but so has the growth that came with it. While much of D'Angelo Russell's journey has revolved around identity and perception, his actual performance on the court tells a story of consistent evolution. From a flashy but inconsistent rookie to a poised floor general with a deep offensive toolbox, Russell's game has matured significantly over the years. Though he never quite became the perennial all-star many expected, he carved out a place in the league that speaks to adaptability, vision, and a deep understanding of the modern NBA offense. Coming into the league, Russell was already known for his craftiness and unique pace. Unlike many point guards of his generation, he wasn't explosive or lightning quick. Instead, he played with a slower rhythm, using hesitation, timing, and angles to create space. His left-handed shot stood out, and his confidence, sometimes bordering on cockiness, made him a polarizing but intriguing prospect. As a rookie, he showed flashes of brilliance, no-look passes, deep threes, step-backs. But it all came in moments, not games. The consistency just wasn't there yet. One of the major critiques early in his career was his decision-making. Russell often forced difficult passes or took contested shots, trying to make highlight plays instead of steady ones. Defensively, he struggled to stay in front of quicker guards, and his off-ball awareness was still developing. Coaches saw potential but also a long learning curve. In LA, where young players were expected to shine quickly, that lack of polish worked against him. His shift to Brooklyn became a turning point not just emotionally but technically. Under a system designed to maximize player strengths, Russell began refining his approach. He stopped trying to play like other guards and leaned into what made him different: his pace, his touch, and his basketball IQ. Rather than pushing the tempo, he embraced control. He began reading defenses more carefully, making smarter passes, and improving his shot selection. His floater game became a real weapon, as did his pull-up three-pointer in pick-and-roll situations. During the 2018-19 season, his breakout campaign, he seemed to be in total command. His numbers were strong, over 21 points and 7 assists per game, and more importantly, he was orchestrating wins. He mastered the high pick-and-roll, often freezing defenders with hesitation moves before delivering bounce passes to rolling bigs or stepping into rhythm jumpers. That year, he led the Nets to the playoffs and was rewarded with his first All-Star selection. It was validation of the work he'd put in, and proof that his style of play could thrive in today's NBA. But his game didn't stop evolving there. After his time in Brooklyn, he moved to Golden State, where he shared the floor with players like Stephen Curry, when healthy, and learned more about off-ball movement and spacing. In Minnesota, he was asked to score more and take on a heavier offensive load, especially when Karl-Anthony Towns was injured. That version of Russell took more mid-range jumpers, attacked switches, and even became more vocal as a leader. He wasn't always efficient, but he understood what the team needed from him on any given night. Back in Los Angeles in 2023, Russell tried to strike a balance between being a scoring guard and a secondary playmaker behind LeBron James and Anthony Davis. He showed flashes of brilliance, especially during the regular season, hitting clutch threes and providing steady offense. But in the playoffs, his impact waned. Teams targeted him defensively, and his shooting rhythm often disappeared under pressure. This exposed the lingering gaps in his game. His limitations on defense, his tendency to disappear when his shot wasn't falling, and his difficulty adjusting to physical, playoff-caliber intensity. Still, what sets Russell apart isn't just what he can do when everything is going right, it's how he adjusts when it's not. He's never been the fastest, strongest, or most athletic player on the court. But his ability to adapt, to find new ways to contribute, is what has kept him relevant. Whether initiating offense, spacing the floor as a shooter, or facilitating in pick and rolls, he has developed into a player who understands his role and how to shape it around those around him. Today, as he prepares for his role with the Dallas Mavericks, Russell enters a phase of his career where efficiency and reliability matter more than volume. He's not being asked to be the star anymore, but rather to complement one, perhaps two. With Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving dominating usage when healthy, Russell's ability to come off the bench, control tempo, and provide scoring bursts will be crucial. His skill set fits the modern NBA well. A guard who can shoot, pass, and create without needing to dominate the ball. At this stage, Russell's evolution is less about reinvention and more about refinement. He's no longer trying to prove he belongs, he's trying to maximize the years he has left by playing smarter, not harder. His journey on the court has mirrored his personal one. Gradual, deliberate, and grounded in experience. While his path didn't follow the arc of a superstar, it's clear that his basketball mind, his touch, and his resilience have earned him a long-term place in the league. Success in professional basketball isn't built on talent alone. It's forged in relationships, trust, and the often unseen dynamics of the locker room. For D'Angelo Russell, the image he's carried as a teammate has been as complex and evolving as his game. From early missteps to later maturity, his presence behind the scenes has undergone a transformation that says as much about his character as it does about his skills. In the early stages of his career with the Lakers, Russell's role in the locker room was as uncertain as his role on the court. Thrust into a leadership position too soon, he was still navigating the pressure of being a top draft pick while also figuring out how to coexist with a mix of veterans and young prospects. That environment was far from stable. There was tension, turnover, and a noticeable lack of mentorship, especially after the departure of Kobe Bryant. What remained was a void, and the responsibility of filling it landed awkwardly on players like Russell, who weren't yet ready. The infamous incident involving a secretly recorded video of a teammate only added fuel to the fire. It fractured trust within the team and marked Russell as immature in the eyes of many. In a league built on chemistry and confidentiality, that breach lingered. It wasn't just a locker room issue, it became a public scandal. For months, it defined how people viewed him. To his credit, Russell never dodged accountability. He faced the criticism head-on and later acknowledged how deeply that episode affected him, both personally and professionally. It became a turning point, a painful one, but ultimately a necessary chapter in his growth. When he arrived in Brooklyn, Russell found an environment that valued cohesion and gave him space to rebuild his image. The Nets weren't just looking for talent, they were building a culture and they wanted players who were willing to grow within it. This gave Russell the chance to reset. He began to understand the importance of being a dependable presence, not just on the court but in practice, in meetings, in the locker room. He listened more, talked less, and became someone teammates could count on. There were no dramatic gestures. No sudden personality overhaul, just a steady shift in the way he approached being part of a team. Over time, Russell developed into a more thoughtful and measured teammate. In Brooklyn and later in Minnesota, he stepped into more vocal roles, not as a traditional rah-rah leader, but as someone who led through example. He became known for pulling younger players aside to explain plays, offering encouragement, and maintaining professionalism during difficult stretches. This was especially noticeable during his time with the Timberwolves, where he built a strong rapport with Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. Though not always the loudest voice in the room, Russell's influence grew because of his consistency and communication. One of the more underrated aspects of Russell's growth has been his self-awareness. He no longer tries to force leadership or dominate the locker room. Instead, he adapts. On teams where stars are already established like the Lakers or now the Mavericks, he doesn't compete for attention. He finds his role, fits into the ecosystem, and leads where appropriate, whether that means helping a younger teammate navigate life in the league or simply staying locked in during games where his number isn't called. Despite this evolution, perception still trails him. The NBA is a league where reputations are slow to change. For some, Russell is still the brash, immature rookie who made a mistake. For others, he's a solid veteran who's found peace in his role. The truth likely lies somewhere in between. What can't be denied is that over the years, his teammates have come to respect his basketball mind, his competitive edge, and his ability to own up to his past. In Los Angeles, during his second stint, Russell was praised by some for his work ethic and willingness to adjust his game to fit the roster's needs. But when the playoff struggles came, the old critiques returned. That's the reality of being in the spotlight. A single stretch of poor performance can outweigh months of quiet leadership. It's a cycle Russell has come to understand well, and one he no longer lets define him. Now, as he joins the Mavericks, Russell enters a locker room led by two distinct personalities. Luka Doncic, the young phenom who leads with both talent and fire, and Kyrie Irving, whose leadership style is more spiritual and philosophical. Russell's challenge will be to support, not overshadow, to uplift, not disrupt. His experience will matter. So will his voice, especially on nights when others are silent. In a league full of egos and agendas, there's real value in someone who knows how to fit in without fading out. Russell's journey as a teammate mirrors the journey of many NBA players trying to grow beyond the roles they were cast in early on. From being seen as a problem to becoming a professional, from isolation to integration, his transformation has been gradual but real. He's not perfect, no one in this league is, but he's earned his place not just as a contributor on the floor, but as someone who can keep a team moving forward when the cameras aren't rolling. Not every player who enters the NBA is destined for superstardom. Some carve out legacies not through dominance but through endurance, by adapting, evolving, and surviving in a league that never stops moving. D'Angelo Russell, in many ways, embodies this new generation of NBA guards. Creative, skillful, imperfect, and constantly navigating a shifting set of expectations. His journey doesn't belong to the history books for championships or records, but it tells a story about the league itself, how it has changed, and how players are asked to change with it. When Russell entered the NBA in 2015, the landscape for guards was already transforming. The era of positionless basketball was beginning to take hold. Traditional point guards who focused solely on distributing the ball were becoming less common. The modern NBA demanded versatility, floor spacing, pick-and-roll mastery, three-point shooting, and a deep offensive bag. Russell had many of these tools from the start, especially when it came to shot creation and court vision. But, as with many young players, the conversation quickly shifted from potential to production. Unlike the superstars who emerge and dominate from day one, Russell's path has been more nuanced. He wasn't a bust, nor was he a breakout phenom. He lived in the middle space, a player who showed flashes of brilliance, struggled with consistency, and ultimately settled into a respectable but unspectacular role. But in doing so, he became a kind of blueprint for how the NBA treats its rising talents, with both urgency and impatience. The league celebrates upside but rarely offers time. For every player like Stephen Curry who grows slowly and blossoms into greatness, there are dozens like Russell, expected to shine immediately, questioned when they don't, and labeled before they've had time to define themselves. His career arc reflects this dynamic perfectly. Drafted second overall, placed under the bright lights of Los Angeles, and quickly judged when he didn't match the expectations set by his draft position. Then traded, reshaped in Brooklyn, and rediscovered through a new role and a new system. His All-Star season was viewed not as a starting point, but as an exception, a moment where everything aligned. After that, his name became associated more with trade packages than with long-term building blocks. Yet he's still here. Still productive. Still relevant. In this way, Russell represents a different kind of success story. One not built on dominance, but on persistence. He has shown that there is value in players who don't become faces of the league but still contribute meaningfully over a decade-long career. Players like him are essential, bridge pieces, role definers, and often mentors to the next wave. They don't sell jerseys at the rate of megastars, but they win games, stabilize rotations, and adapt across different systems and eras. The evolution of his game also mirrors how the role of guards has shifted league-wide. In the past, a point guard's job was largely to organize, pass first, and control tempo. Today's guards are asked to score, shoot from distance, and create offense in isolation. Russell fits that mold. He doesn't control the game in the traditional sense, but he can break down defenses, hit deep threes, and run pick and rolls with confidence. He's a product of the league's evolution, less reliant on pure speed or strength, and more dependent on craft, angles, and skill. Defensively, his limitations have often been used against him in conversations about his overall impact. He isn't a lockdown perimeter defender, and in the playoffs teams have targeted him. But even here, he reflects the reality of the modern game. Many offensive-minded guards struggle on defense. The league has become a place where scoring is prioritized, and even elite defenders are frequently outmatched by the sheer firepower of today's offenses. Russell may not be elite defensively, but his offensive IQ and shot-making ability have kept him in rotations, and in some cases starting lineups, for years. His journey also highlights the emotional toll of navigating the NBA's spotlight. From being labeled immature to proving his growth over time, Russell has endured the cycle that so many young players face. Celebrated on draft night, scrutinized soon after, and redefined by every stop along the way. Few careers follow a straight line. Russell's has zigzagged through different cities, roles, systems, and expectations. And yet, the fact that he's still a reliable contributor nearly a decade later speaks volumes. D'Angelo Russell's place in NBA history may not be in the rafters or the Hall of Fame, but it exists in a quieter, more relatable space. He's the modern journeyman, highly skilled, widely traveled, and battle-tested. He's a reminder that success in the NBA isn't always about superstardom. Sometimes it's about surviving the turbulence, continuing to contribute, and embracing each chapter with humility and hunger. His legacy may not be defined by rings or MVPs, but by resilience and relevance. In a league that moves fast and forgets even faster, that might be the most impressive accomplishment of all. Navigating the world of professional sports goes far beyond the lines painted on the court. For D'Angelo Russell, managing public perception has been as much a part of his career as his on-court performance. From early hype to harsh criticism, from social media scrutiny to fan expectations, Russell's journey has been marked by an ongoing negotiation with the spotlight. Entering the NBA as a high draft pick instantly placed Russell under a microscope. Every game, every play, every comment was dissected by media outlets and fans alike. As a young player, this intense attention can be overwhelming, and for Russell, it sometimes amplified the challenges he faced as he tried to find consistency in his game. The pressure to perform wasn't just professional, it became personal. The infamous leaked video incident in his rookie season cast a long shadow on his public image. Beyond the immediate fallout within his team, the story spread rapidly online, fueling narratives about his maturity and character. Headlines questioned his professionalism and labeled him as a troublemaker, making his path to redemption steeper. It wasn't just a private mistake, it was a public moment that defined how many viewed him for years. Social media added a new layer of complexity. Platforms like Twitter and Instagram provide instant access to fans' opinions, often blunt and unforgiving. Russell, like many athletes, had to learn how to navigate this digital landscape, filtering constructive criticism from negativity and maintaining focus despite the noise. Over time, he adopted a more measured approach, avoiding controversies and using his platforms more thoughtfully. The media also often highlighted his inconsistencies, framing his career as one of unfulfilled potential. Headlines focused on missed opportunities and trade rumors rather than the steady contributions he made. This kind of narrative can shape fan perceptions, leading some to overlook his growth and resilience. But Russell never seemed to shy away from the narrative. He addressed it openly in interviews, acknowledging mistakes while emphasizing his desire to improve. Fan relationships have been equally complicated. Early on, Lakers fans were frustrated by his uneven performances and off-court issues. But as he matured, some supporters began to appreciate his skill and effort. His time in Brooklyn allowed a fresh start with a different fan base, where his all-star season earned him genuine respect. Yet, in a league driven by star power and highlight reels, it's often challenging for players like Russell to fully capture widespread fan adoration. Despite these challenges, Russell's media presence evolved positively. He became more articulate in interviews, offering insights into his process and showing humility about his journey. This shift helped soften his image and foster a more nuanced understanding of who he is beyond the box score. His candidness about mental health, professional growth, and personal accountability resonated with many, reflecting a broader trend among modern athletes toward openness. As he moved through different teams, Russell's narrative was continuously rewritten. Each trade, each new season brought fresh scrutiny but also new opportunities to shape his story. His recent signing with Dallas presents another chapter, this time with less pressure as a primary star and more as a valuable veteran presence. How he manages this stage, both on and off the court, will continue to influence his public perception. In the end, D'Angelo Russell's relationship with media and fans underscores a larger truth about the modern NBA. The game is played as much in headlines and social feeds as it is on hardwood floors. For players, managing that balance is crucial. Russell's experience highlights the difficulty and the importance of controlling one's narrative in a fast-moving, highly connected world. He's no longer just the young player under the microscope. He's a seasoned professional who understands the spotlight's glare and the shadows it can cast. And in that understanding lies a key part of his ongoing journey. Athletes often appear larger than life when viewed through the lens of their profession. But beyond the bright lights and roaring crowds lies the person. The individual with passions, struggles, and a life outside the game. D'Angelo Russell is no exception. Understanding him requires looking past the basketball statistics and media headlines to see the man behind the jersey. From early on, Russell showed interest that went beyond basketball. Growing up in Louisville, Kentucky, he was known not only for his skills on the court but also for his thoughtful nature and curiosity about the world. Basketball was his path, but not his entire identity. As his career progressed, he cultivated interests in music, fashion, and technology, areas where he could express himself creatively and find balance away from the intense demands of professional sports. Music has been a consistent passion for Russell. He's mentioned in interviews how listening to different genres helps him relax and focus. Some teammates and coaches have even joked about his playlists influencing locker room energy before games. Beyond casual listening, Russell has explored aspects of music production and shown an interest in how the industry works, reflecting a mindset focused on long-term engagement with his passions. Fashion is another outlet for expression. Known for his distinct style, Russell often embraces bold choices that reflect his personality. From red carpet appearances to casual streetwear, he uses fashion as a way to communicate identity and confidence. This aspect of his life also connects him to a wider culture of athletes who are redefining what it means to be a sports figure in today's world, blurring lines between sport, style, and social influence. Off the court, Russell has shown a commitment to giving back. He's been involved in community initiatives aimed at youth empowerment and education. Understanding the impact of role models in shaping futures, he has participated in basketball camps and charitable events, using his platform to inspire and support younger generations. While not always in the media spotlight, this work speaks to his character and sense of responsibility beyond personal success. Mental health has also been a topic Russell has approached with increasing openness. Like many athletes navigating the pressures of professional sports, he has spoken about the importance of psychological well-being and the challenges of maintaining balance. His willingness to discuss these issues publicly aligns with a broader movement within the NBA and sports in general, where mental health is gaining recognition as crucial to performance and life quality. Russell's personal relationships have occasionally drawn media attention, but he generally keeps his private life guarded, allowing his actions and words to define his public image more than tabloid stories. This balance of openness and discretion suggests a maturity that contrasts with early career missteps, signaling growth not only as a player but as a person. The combination of his interests, community work, and personal growth paints a picture of an athlete who is multidimensional, someone who understands that basketball is just one chapter in a larger story. As he moves forward in his career, this broader perspective will likely continue to shape how he approaches challenges and opportunities. In essence, D'Angelo Russell's life off the court is as rich and evolving as his journey on it. It is a testament to the complexity of modern athletes who must juggle performance, public perception, personal passions, and social responsibilities all at once. For Russell, embracing this complexity has been key to finding balance and purpose beyond the game. Basketball today isn't just a sport, it's a cultural phenomenon. Players are more than athletes. They're influencers, trendsetters, and voices for a generation. D'Angelo Russell, while not the biggest superstar, plays a meaningful role in this modern basketball culture, helping shape how the game is played, perceived, and celebrated. Russell's style on the court reflects the evolution of basketball into a game that prioritizes creativity, flair, and skill. His smooth shooting, crafty handles, and ability to create his own shot are emblematic of a generation of guards who blend artistry with athleticism. This style appeals not only to hardcore fans but also to younger audiences who see basketball as a form of expression, not just competition. Off the court, Russell participates in this culture through fashion, music, and social media. He's part of a broader movement of players who understand their influence extends beyond basketball. His fashion sense, willingness to speak openly about personal growth, and engagement with fans online make him a relatable figure for many young people. These connections help grow the game's global reach, making basketball a lifestyle rather than just a sport. Players like Russell also represent a shift in how athletes interact with social issues. The NBA has become a platform for activism, and while Russell may not be the loudest voice, his actions and public statements contribute to conversations around mental health, personal responsibility, and community impact. This reflects a growing expectation that athletes lead not only on the court but also in society. Additionally, Russell's journey as a player who has faced challenges and criticism yet continues to persevere resonates culturally. It tells a story of resilience and transformation that mirrors many fans' own life experiences. In a league often dominated by tales of superstars, his narrative offers a more accessible and human perspective, one of growth, accountability, and second chances. The interplay between basketball and culture is also evident in how players like Russell influence youth. By engaging with fans authentically and sharing his ups and downs, he inspires aspiring players who see him as proof that success comes in many forms. This cultural connection helps sustain the sport's popularity and ensures its relevance for future generations. In sum, D'Angelo Russell's impact goes beyond stats or highlight reels. He's part of a wave that's redefining what it means to be a basketball player today, blending skill, personality, and social awareness to leave a mark that's as cultural as it is athletic. Through his journey, he helps illustrate the evolving role of athletes as both performers and influencers in a rapidly changing world. As D'Angelo Russell enters the next stage of his career, the questions about his legacy and future impact come sharply into focus. At 29 years old, he has already experienced many of the highs and lows that define a professional athlete's journey. His story is still being written, and the coming years will reveal how he shapes the final chapters of his NBA career. Russell's recent move to the Dallas Mavericks marks a new opportunity, a chance to reinvent himself once again. With Kyrie Irving sidelined due to injury, Russell is expected to play a significant role in the team's rotation, bringing his experience, shooting, and playmaking to a squad aiming to compete at a high level. This role could showcase his maturity and adaptability, highlighting the skills that have kept him relevant in the league. Beyond individual performance, Russell's future impact may be measured by his leadership and mentorship. Having navigated the pressures of the NBA spotlight, trades, and personal growth, he is well positioned to guide younger teammates through similar challenges. This off-court influence often goes unnoticed but can be crucial in shaping team culture and success. From a broader perspective, Russell's legacy will likely reflect the reality of many talented players who aren't perennial all-stars or MVP candidates but are essential parts of the NBA ecosystem. He represents the journeyman, skilled, resilient, and capable of adapting to evolving roles and systems. His story underscores the value of persistence, professionalism, and the ability to continually evolve. In an era where the spotlight is often reserved for superstars, players like Russell remind fans and analysts that the NBA's richness comes from a diversity of talents and stories. His career illustrates that success isn't a single moment or accolade but a sustained effort to contribute meaningfully over time. Looking ahead, Russell's ability to stay healthy, maintain his craft, and embrace his evolving role will determine how many more chapters he can add to his career. The league's pace and physical demands require constant adaptation, and Russell has already proven he can do just that. Ultimately, the legacy D'Angelo Russell builds will be one of growth and perseverance, a narrative of a player who faced scrutiny, learned from his experiences, and continues to find ways to contribute at a high level. It's a legacy that resonates beyond basketball, touching on themes of resilience, self-awareness, and the ongoing pursuit of excellence. As fans and observers watch this next phase unfold, they'll see a player who has navigated the complexities of the modern NBA with determination and grace. His story is far from over, and the future holds the promise of new opportunities, challenges, and achievements. In the grand tapestry of the NBA, D'Angelo Russell may not be the brightest star, but he is undoubtedly one of the most enduring, an emblem of the evolving game and the players who make it compelling beyond the highlight reels.